Curious on why you're further harassing me.
I need to determine whether or not you had any warrants out for your arrest.
Well, I'd like to not further your investigation.
You can be charged with obstructing justice at that point.
Well, obstruction is a physical act.
It's not.
But it actually is by law.
At this point, unless you're going to give me ID...
You're making me insecure in my house's paper property effects and things. If you violate my Fourth Amendment right, I'm going to sue you.
I'm asking
your department.
you to willingly give me your
I've
ID.
not broken any laws,
I'm
is
not
that correct?
forcing you to do that.
I've not broken any laws, is that
What does
correct?
that have to do with me asking you to give you ID?
Because you don't have to have articulable reasonable suspicion to gain my ID.
No, I don't. I'm asking you to give it over.
You have to
willingly identify yourself. That's what I'm asking.
You're trying to violate my Fourth Amendment right. I would highly suggest you go above yourself before you make a mistake, because you walked over here to harass me and asked me to gain my ID. I've not broken any laws. You threatened me with arrest if I didn't leave, which is a violation of my rights in general.
So there's a lot going on here. This video is obviously heavily edited, but we'll just go with what we have. First off, a law enforcement officer inquiring of your identification is not harassment. This idea that by simply a law enforcement officer making contact with you, this is harassment. Harassment is a crime that has specific elements. So let's just take the state of Oklahoma, for example. Those elements can be found in the Oklahoma Jury Instructions CR 4 TAC 32. You can Google that. Obviously, if this was in Oklahoma, the officer wouldn't even come close to harassment, to the harassment statute. The next thing is, you can be charged with obstruction for failing to ID yourself pursuant to Brown v. Texas 1979, only if the officer has a reasonable articulable suspicion that a crime has occurred. So again, an officer needs to have reasonable articulable suspicion to compel identification. The next thing, the citizen was very strong and bold about what obstruction was. He said that obstruction is a physical action only by law. Couldn't be further from the truth. I hear this a lot from citizens. I hear this a lot from, a lot of people that are these First Amendment sovereign citizen types. I don't know where you guys get that from. Maybe if you're one of those YouTube lawyers, you can explain to me this. But again, for example, in the state of Oklahoma, obstruction has very clear elements, and the idea that it can only be a physical action is ridiculous. Again, you can find that in Oklahoma Jury Instructions CR 6 TAC 48. And then if you want to look at federal laws, 18 U.S.C. 1503, 1505, 1512, 1513. Again, this idea that it has to be a physical action is just absolutely ridiculous. It's not conforming to true case law precedent. The next thing I would say is, if you are a citizen and an officer asks you for ID, asks you to consensually give it up, to willingly give it up, if you do, that's not a violation of your Fourth Amendment rights. It's obvious that this gentleman here recording is trying to he's trying to start a confrontation, in my personal opinion, and it looks like he's trying to make something out of something that's not there. Again, we don't have all the details, but the officer, again, repeatedly saying that he's just asking for voluntary compliance, again, does not violate your Fourth Amendment rights. But with that, I will say, from an officer perspective, as somebody that teaches case law, patrol tactics and constitutional law to law enforcement, it's obviously clear this guy has an agenda. It's obviously clear that he's very firm about the protection and sovereignty of his identity, which he has every right to do under law. All right, it seems like you have gotten as far as you're going to get. So let's respect people's rights. Let's take on the applicable case law, and let's get back on patrol and continue to serve the great citizens in which we're entrusted to serve.